now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. In a recent video that went viral, a Holiday Inn customer service representative went berserk behind the counter of the hotel he was working with after a black customer asked him about an error that was made regarding a reservation he had made at the hotel. And after asking about this error that was made and admonishing the customer service representative about this mistake, the customer service representative smashes his face into a computer screen, and as the customer continues to talk to him, he then starts to further flip out by crying, then punching himself in the face, and having a complete meltdown and emotional breakdown to the point where he storms to the back of the reception area. Now, some people are trying to excuse this employee's behavior by saying he had some sort of mental health problem. But when I take a critical examination of that video featuring that customer service representative, I clearly see a textbook beta male like I described in my book, The Man Crisis. And when I take a look at that video of that employee at that hotel, I clearly see one of these beta males on the job, and this beta male clearly was a man in crisis and clearly not fit for that position at that hotel representing the company at the front desk, because your employees who are working at the front desk, they have to have strong discipline, strong character, and strong resolve in order to handle customers, whether they be difficult or whether they're just asking about simple, basic service questions. And when I look at the video of the black man asking about this reservation, yes, he is justifiably upset, but he is in control of his emotions. And while he's admonishing the employee about the mistake, the employee just really does not have a good handle on his emotions, and that's probably due to the way he was raised in a home where he probably was learning how to be one of these kinder, gentler, softer males. But in many cases, when you have a kinder, softer, gentler male in a customer service position working at the front desk, you have a recipe for disaster, because a lot of times these kinder, gentler, softer males, they can't really handle a lot of pressure. And a lot of these guys, whenever they face any sort of conflict, that's when you start to trip a switch on these guys and they become a ticking time bomb. And this guy, probably the clock was set when the guy went to the counter to confront him about the mistake made with his reservation at the hotel. And this is what triggered this guy's anger, because he had to deal with a customer as related to conflict. And because he did not have good control over his emotions or good critical thinking skills or the ability to use logic and reason, what happened was he started to go into his feelings, and he started to try to find a way to cope with the feelings he had about the way he was being talked to. And the way he decided to cope with those feelings he was dealing with those emotions he could not handle, was to start to bang his head on the computer screen, and then decided to start crying, and then started punching himself in the face before practically rushing away crying. And that is not the way a professional carries and conducts themselves at the front desk of a company. Because again, when you have an employee who is working at your front desk, they are not just representing themselves, they are also representing the company, because the person working the front desk is the face of the company. And if they're out here and they're acting in an extremely unprofessional way, it makes the company look bad. And I'm wondering how this individual managed to get this kind of job, because when I'm looking at this guy and I'm looking at his body language, it's clear to me that he is not someone I would have picked to work that kind of front desk position. Because when I look at that guy's body language, he looked like an extremely soft male, an extremely docile male, and he looked like he had some serious issues as related to dealing with emotions and dealing with conflict. And that was just me looking at his face and his body language. He clearly did not look like somebody who was a good fit for that position, but somehow this individual got hired for this position, and this is going to prove to be a very grave mistake for the Holiday Inn, because this guy's meltdown is now being seen all over the world, and it's making for one big black eye for the company. But it's an even bigger black eye for most of the softer males out here, because when you have a soft male, they just can't really handle a lot of pressure. Now, I myself have had many of these types of front desk jobs, and I know that they are a lot of stress. Now, I worked at the City College Science Library in 2008 from April to October, and I had my fair share of unruly customers and unruly patrons. And I knew how to handle many of those customers by navigating through my emotions and, most importantly, not taking it personal. One of the worst things a employee can do in a front desk customer service job is take everything personal that a customer is coming at you with and react with emotion. Because when you react with emotion, it's you losing control, and when you lose control, you are going to make your company look bad. Because when you're on the job, you have to understand you are not in this company representing yourself, and you are not in here trying to deal with this person from an emotional perspective. You are trying to remain professional, and part of remaining professional is, one, being able to navigate through your emotions, where yes, you feel as related to the comments being made, but you don't act on those feelings, and two, you let those feelings roll off you because, one, you know it's not personal, it's just that the customer wants to get a certain product or a certain service, and it is your job to solve the problem, not take it so personally when there's a mistake. So I've run into these type of situations with entitled patrons at the library who thought that a book should have been there and it wasn't, and I wound up having to let them know that it's not my fault that the books aren't there. It's just that you have to compete for these reserved books, and you have to be there at a certain time in order to get them. And if the book isn't there, you just can't take it personally. It's just something that's all part of competing in order to get a certain product or a certain service. So it's not about me, it's just about the product or the service, and you do everything in your power to ensure that the customer has a good experience. And if they can't get what they want, you try to offer them alternatives and substitutes in order to make sure that their needs are met. So your goal primarily is to try to meet the customer's needs, and in order to do that, you have to have a business-focused mindset. Unfortunately, when you are a bitch-made male, what happens is everything is about your feelings, everything is about what you want, but that doesn't work in a service-based business, because when you're in a service-based business, you are all about serving the customer and providing for the needs of the customer in the environment. And I've also run into this type of individual when I was bagging groceries at Food Emporium back in the 90s, and I would run into people who would want me to bag their groceries faster, and I would just continue to let them know that I'm going to go and do it faster. And I know that some of these people, again, you just can't take it personally with these individuals, You just have to try to find a way to give them what they want and get them moving on their way. It's all about the business and it's nothing personal. And if you take it personal, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get upset, and you're going to lose it. And if you get frustrated and upset, what you're going to lose is your job. And this is what's probably going to happen to this beta male, because he did not have the discipline, the self-control, or the critical thinking or problem-solving skills in order to deal with this customer and provide them whatever they needed and be able to deal with whatever issues the customer had. Because all he had to do with this customer, as I see it from the video, was try to find a way to resolve the mistake that had been made. And the first thing he could have just said to the customer, which would have made things better as related to the issues, was, "I'm sorry, we made a mistake with your reservation," or whatever issue they were having, and then offer to resolve the issue in some way, shape, or form, or offer some type of discount for a later date. I mean, there were other ways to solve the problem, and if those issues could not be resolved at the front desk by him, he could have offered to bring his manager in and then say, "Yes, we made a mistake as related to this individual's request, and we need to find a way to resolve the issue," because it's all about keeping things professional as related to the services you're providing, and it's all about maintaining a professional image as related to the company and yourself. Because when you're, again, working at a customer service or a front desk job, your goal is to make sure that the customer is happy, and you want to make sure that the customer has a good experience, even if there is a conflict. Unfortunately, many companies will hire a guy like this because he appears to be pleasant on the outside, but he really has no understanding of things like critical thinking or conflict resolution, and he doesn't know how to deal with conflict. And this is what I'm seeing right here as related to this individual, is he has a hard time dealing with conflict and resolving conflicts as related to the workplace. And this man in crisis is a textbook example of what happens when you put a soft beta male into a hard position. They wind up falling completely apart under pressure, and they wind up doing things that embarrass the company and make the company look bad. So when you hire an individual, you have to really think critically about who you're putting in certain positions, because yes, a beta male will appear to be warm and pleasant on the outside, but on the inside they have numerous emotional issues that make them unfit for any sort of job where they have to be the face of the company. Because a lot of these males, they have a hard time dealing with conflict. They are not good critical thinkers who can take a minute to really think about something, and they are not very good problem solvers because they have poor conflict resolution skills. And when you have that type of individual on a job, what they do when they're faced with a major conflict like this individual was dealing with, and I really believe this was a minor conflict, is they start, instead of thinking about solving the customer's problems, they start taking things personally, and then as the fuse is lit in them, they start to lose it. They start to get emotional, and like this individual, because they don't know how to solve the problem with critical thinking and problem solving skills, they just have a meltdown where they're smashing their face into a computer screen, and they're aping out by punching themselves and crying because they don't know how to handle conflict, and they don't know how to deal with conflict in a constructive manner. So hiring this kind of an individual, yes, they look good on the outside, but on the inside, they really don't have those professional skills to do the job. So this is another textbook example of what happens when you hire one of these beta males and put them in a front desk position. They wind up being the face of the company that puts a black eye on a business. Now, if you want to learn more about these beta males and why they're so destructive, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and Smashware's the iBookstore and Google Play. And if you want to learn more about why beta males have a hard time in the workplace, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more classic videos on men's issues like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks in a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business at paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.